Welcome to the Real P&L Trading Show, where I share my real P&L on 3 accounts and share my proprietary Safe Wheel trade system for free. I want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Please type in the chat that you can hear me. I also know that there's a slight delay, so I'll wait to see if you guys can hear me okay. Also, be sure to post any questions you might have earlier rather than later. Charles says you can hear me. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. I need that feedback. All right. And Steve-O says you can hear me. Okay, again, post any questions you might have right now, earlier rather than later. That way I don't get to the end of the broadcast and then I miss your question. You can ask me anything about my trading systems or about trading or options. I have a pretty good knowledge base about options, so if you have questions about that, definitely ask. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing is earnings edge. What happened last week? You can see here, Tesla, and 594 loss on Tesla. That one didn't work out. Let me bring over the spreadsheet. So I got 2 losses there in a row, you can see, and that's the way it goes with the system. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but the losses, I've got 18 losses, 16 wins, and 17 break evens. So last week I think I was 16 and 16, but anyways, right now I had to go back through all the trades and I made it perfectly accurate. 16 wins, 18 losses, 7 break evens. Average win 867, average loss 505. So let's take a look at the accounts at 8121. Let's put that in 8121. Okay, down 15%. Definitely some volatility in the earnings edge. I'm not going to ever shy away from telling you that there's some risk with that, with this system. SPY is trading at 484.94. Looks like we came back to all-time highs. After 2 years, it finally came back to all-time highs, up about 2% this year. And, you know, the earnings edge, you can see overall, since I started running the earnings edge in 2022, I'm up 62%. And the market's up 2.1% since 2022. All right, let's talk about now the Premier Level 5. So I'm going to show you my actual P&L on the Premier Level 5. And you can actually see what I've traded in the account. You can see that I've traded /ES, and you can see that I've traded bonds. That's all I trade in this account. And you can see everything I trade. There's some people that claim to share their P&L, which maybe they do, but they won't. But for some reason, they shy away from showing what they traded in their account to kind of prove that what they said they did, they actually did that. Like if they day traded, you know, I don't want to see bonds in their account, right? But there's one person in particular, I might get into detail later, but I'm asking him to show me this, and for some reason he's kind of shying away from that. So I don't know what he traded in his account, but it shows that he made money, but maybe he just traded bonds. I don't really know. Okay, so Premier Level 5. Let's talk about that. Our balance is 34,921. 34,921. Okay, so down about 0.5% this year. And you can see we got about 1/3 the drawdown. So on a risk-adjusted basis, this system, you can multiply this this number right there, the 16% number, by 3 on a risk-adjusted basis, and you can see that the PL5 is outperforming now. On a nominal basis, it's not outperforming since I started on April 8th, 2022. But I did come out with a new trade plan that I'm really excited about, that does much better in bull markets, but that will be shown in the future, of course. So there are the numbers for the Premier Level 5. Let's talk about the Safe Wheel now. And the Safe Wheel, let's look at the numbers. All right. 68.51. And you can see I traded DraftKings. 68.51. Okay, so the safe wheel's up almost 7% year to date. It's only been, what, 3 weeks? And you can see the overall returns from the safe wheel when I started trading it in January 2022 live right here in front of you. Up 37% compared to 2% for the S&P 500. Plus, it's only has about half the drawdown, so you can actually multiply that by 2 on a risk-adjusted basis. Okay, SafeWheel did quite well this last week because DraftKings made a nice bull run. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see what happened with DraftKings. It just made a nice bull run from 33 up to where it is now, 38. So what happened was I had that long call, right? You know how I have those long calls? Let's go back to this. Here, I've got this long call just to kind of protect my hedge. That long call made like $140 or something like that. So it paid off. Okay, so let's talk about where I'm at. First of all, I thought I had my settings correct where it was like last in or last in, last out, but it looks like it doesn't have that setting. So I have to go back in and change my settings because this should say 3750. It should be looking at my 3750 stock price. That's what it should show right here, but it's showing 34. So it's showing the first one that I got in at instead of the last one I got in. So I know my cost basis or my assigned price for DraftKings was 37.50 with this last 100 shares that I have. I came in with 200 long and I got assigned. Remember, I sold a call. I only sold one call. I didn't sell 2 calls, even though I was long 200 shares. I sold 1 call and I collected a little bit of premium, and then I got called away. And I got called away, according to my accounting, at $34. So I have this is at 37.50 is my assigned price here. All right, so let's talk about this from kind of the beginning. What would I do? I would look at this hedge and make sure that it's still viable. So number one, is it under 100 days? No, it's not. So I'll keep it from that point of view. And then this 28, is that within 75% of 38? So 3811 times 0.75. I'm going to do this on my calculator here. 38.11 times 0.75 is 28.58. So this long put is just barely not close enough to the money. It's not within 75%. So I'm going to move it to make it within 80%. What am I going to do to get 80%? 38.07 times 0.8. I need to get it to the over $30 mark. So I'm going to roll this thing. Let's take a look at where I can go. I want to go to around 150 DTE. So I'm going to move my put hedge. And the thing is, whenever I move my put hedge, there's always that possibility that I could get into a different underlying. But I cannot do that this time because I'm long 100 shares. But if I wasn't long 100 shares, I could move to a different underlying right now if I wanted. But I don't really want to. And I'm going to move out here to this 151. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go to just over 30. So the 31 put is what I'm going to buy. That'll be within 80%. So I'm going to buy the 31 put here on the June 21st. I think in order to keep things simple, I'm going to not roll these together. I'm going to do them separately. And I think that'll make things a lot easier for people to understand. So I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy 3 of them. And I'll put in a better price right now. And then I'll go ahead and sell the other put hedge before I buy this one. So that way. All right, so now I'm going to sell this one, create closing order, and I want to get as much as I can for this. So we're going to move our put hedge today because it's not close enough to the money. So let's go to the working orders and let's sell first before we buy. Okay, so that just filled. So now I'm going to go ahead and buy this put hedge. They want 173 for it, so I'll get up in there and get this thing closed out. Okay, so that filled. So now I have a new put hedge. I've got, more days, but the main thing is my strike price is close enough to the actual price of DKNG because I need a certain amount of protection. And in order to have that amount of protection, I need this closer to the actual price. So this price shot up quite a bit, forced me to move my put hedge up. I was going to be moving it here in a couple of weeks anyways. All right, and now we also have our long call, which I bought on Friday. I sold the other one, like I said, for like $140. Bought it for $5, sold it for around $140, which protected, my put hedge. So now I still have that. So now we're going to go into what do we do now? We have 100 shares. We're going to run the traditional wheel, and my assigned price was $37.50. Even though this is doesn't say that. That's what I have. So I'm going to try to sell a covered call at the $37.50 level or higher. I'm going to do one of those, and I'm going to do it in the nearest expiration. So I'm going to look at the calls. And if I look at $37.50, I can definitely sell that, right, for $1.56. I want to get within 1%. I want to get about $38 or better. So the $39.50 wouldn't quite make it. It's not enough premium there, but I can sell the $39. So that's the one I'm going to sell. I like to sell the one kind of the furthest out of the money that I can get, but not quite at the 1% range, but one back. So that's the 39 is what I like to sell, because if I get assigned, I'll make that $150 on top of the 40 something dollars that I make right now. Mid price 47. I'm going to do one call. Okay. Okay, so let's go here. That sold right away, so I got $47 for it. So now my wheel strategy is complete because I've got a covered call going, and I'm also covered because I've got a hedge. And I've also, if my hedge gets too far out of whack and I lose too much money in my hedge, I've got a hedge for my hedge, right? My long call. All right. Okay, so that's the wheel. There was quite a bit of stuff going on there. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Let me get into my questions here. And first we have Nina. If I want to trade the safe wheel into IRA, can I apply for a limited margin IRA to avoid having to wait till the next day to enter part of my trade because of trade settlement date? A limited margin IRA. I don't know if a limited margin IRA exists. I know with Thinkorswim they do not. Now maybe there are with other brokers, but I doubt it. But I don't know the answer to that. You got to call your specific broker and see if your specific broker has some type of margin with the IRA. But as far as I know, there's not margin with the IRA. And then maybe you guys know something I don't know about that, and you can put it in the chat here. But you cannot get margin with the IRA. One way around that is to just, whenever you sell anything naked, because everything else, if you can sell spreads in IRA, but anytime you sell anything naked, what you can do is you can just go ahead and buy, say for example here, I just sold this $39. Well, that was a covered call. Let's say that I did a put and I sold the $37 put. Say I collected, $35 or whatever. I could just go ahead and buy like a $5 long put, and therefore technically I would not be naked, and therefore I could trade the wheel strategy by doing that. Okay, so that's one way kind of around not being able to get margin for the safe wheel. Okay. Nina, she says, why are weeklies traded instead of monthlies for the safe wheel? Would we not pay less in contract fees if we traded monthlies? Absolutely, that's a good idea. I trade weeklies for two reasons. One, I like to sell something that's going to depreciate down into zero and then get assigned, because when I get assigned, I go long, and when I'm long shares and then the stock pops back up, just like DKNG did last week, that's where most of the money is made. So there's been some profits just this last week because I was long 200 shares. I didn't sell covered calls against 100 of my shares, and now look at DKNG all the way up at $38. Now, that could happen on a monthly basis. It's just slower, right? And it's not a bad idea. If you want to put even less time into the safe wheel, you could do it on a monthly basis. I haven't back tested it, so I couldn't give you 100%, that's the way to go or anything. But the other reason I do it is because I wanted something that I could trade weekly, where I could show people a system that is 100% systematic, and that I could do it on a weekly basis, and I could do it live. So there's a couple reasons why I use weekly, but I don't have anything against doing it monthly if you back test it first and make sure you got it down and that it works on a monthly basis. I haven't back tested it, but I like the idea if you want to be a lot less active. Nina, is the earnings edge strategy scalable? What's the earnings edge annual returns? Well, let's talk about the annual returns. I mean, I'm not going to give you the perfect annual returns, but I'm going to say that the earnings edge is up 62% over a 2-year period. So maybe it's around 30%, something like that right now. It's very volatile, and I wouldn't use a lot of capital. In other words, the only time I'd use like close to 100% of my capital is if I just had a small account and I really had no choice but to try to get my account up and take some risks. Then, I only have $5,000 to my name or something like that. I might do it that way. Or, I wouldn't do it if I had like $50,000 in my account. That's basically my extra money that I had. I wouldn't do this with $50,000. All right. I'd still do it with 5,000. So it's risky. There's a lot of risk in this trade. So that's kind of the way I think about it. And I hope that answered your question there. Now, how did it perform in market crashes and backtests? Well, I didn't backtest it through the crash. I already know it would be phenomenal. It would work phenomenally because I want a big move, and even just a move a little bit above normal. Like, so if I'm holding like Tesla, if something would have happened with Tesla last week where it moved a little bit higher than normal, I would have made, probably a couple $1,000s. Now, if it was a crash, I probably would have doubled the account. Now, because the way it's set up is we want big moves. So in a crash, it would be awesome. That's when I put on an earnings edge trade, I'm hoping for a crash just from that point of view, right? From that, looking at a small lens of looking at the account, just looking at that particular trade, I want a crash. Not for everyone else, right? I know a lot of people get hurt in crashes. Nina, how quickly would we have to act on earnings edge alerts when you send them out? Well, some people, if you act within 5 minutes, you get pretty much the same price I get, maybe 2 minutes, same price. Sometimes people wait on purpose and get better prices than I get. And sometimes you miss the trade altogether because the price just runs away. But that's pretty rare. Most of the time, If you trade within 5 or 10 minutes of what I'm doing, you get a pretty close to the price that I'm getting. Nina, when are the alerts generally sent out? We have to be available anytime during trading hours. Typically, I like to trade the earnings edge on Mondays, typically around on Pacific time. Typically, make my trade somewhere around 10 a.m., 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Sometimes a little later than that. And then if I don't trade it on Mondays, I look to do it Tuesday around that same time. And then if it doesn't go in on Tuesday, I look to trade it on Wednesday around that same time, around 10 a.m., give or take. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, those are only closing days for the earnings edge. I would not open on those days. I typically close it on Friday morning if it hasn't hit profit. If I haven't been if I don't hit the big profit, I typically close it on Friday morning. So the schedule is not perfectly set, but it's fairly set. Nina, is it possible to trade earnings edge in IRAs? Yes, you can trade it in IRAs because you're not going naked anything. So you're going long things. So you're putting on a debit trade. So you can trade it in an IRA, and you don't need margin to trade the earnings edge. Okay. Thanks, Nina. Those are good questions. All right, Alex. Pretty sure that the FIFO, LIFO, nothing changes in the platform, but rather it just changes the taxes on the back end. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Maybe that's good to know. I didn't know that, Alex. So, yeah, that's I was hoping it would do the change on the platform too, where this would say 3750 right here, but maybe you're right there. Victor, congrats on the gains. The hedge of the hedge, $5. Yeah, I screwed up forgetting to purchase on Friday, so I was only able to finance 3750 strike on Monday instead of $36, and only made around 20 bucks. Oh, okay. Yeah, I made like $137 on that long call. Finally paid off. It's been a while. I think this might be the second or third time since the beginning of 2022 where that thing paid off. Shane says, I thought it was 70%, not 75% for the puts. Oh, did I say 75? So you're right, 70. So hopefully I didn't say 75, but if it's within 70, I'm okay. And when I put it on at 80. So was I within 70? I don't remember. Let me check that real quick. 38 times 0.7. Oh, I didn't have to move it. You're right. 70. I used 75%. So it made a slight error there. I think I've been back testing, and I've been using that 75% number to calculate margin for a certain trade, and I guess I got those mixed up. But that's okay. I was going to have to move that thing anyways pretty soon. I'm not really overly concerned about moving this put hedge, even though maybe I could have waited. I'm not concerned about it. I don't think it's a big deal. But technically, you're correct. I didn't need to do that. Thanks for catching that. Alex, do we roll the put hedge when it's 70 or 75? Yeah, I just went over that. Yeah, it's 70%. My bad on that one. Yeah. So that's how Tastyworks does it. Only affects tax computation. Okay, thanks, Stevo. Appreciate that. In terms of what you're talking about here is the what I'm seeing on the screen is this $34, but I wanted to see the $37.50 here. It would make things easier, but I have that written down, and I know $37.50 is my assigned price of my current 100 shares. Forex Gump, that's pretty funny. Sign up to your level 5 program, gone through the directional tech analysis trading, and ready to see some consistency for a change. Glad to have found you, Carl. Thanks. Yep, we look forward to working with you. We're going to be, we have office hours and the whole thing. Like, we make sure you understand what's going on with the level 5 program there. We're very dedicated to making sure that we help you. Jeff says, do you teach your students how to backtest when they buy a course? Well, it depends on which course it is. If it's the Premier Level 5 course, the flagship course, the answer to that is yes. Yes, we do. Backtesting is the fastest way to learn how to trade something. So if you want to learn how to do the safe wheel and get it down, backtest it. That'll be the quickest way to learn it. Or anything that you're trading, backtest. Now, you'll learn really quick too whether a trade system is subjective or objective. If you're trading a subjective trade system, you can't really backtest it. I mean, you can attempt to backtest it, but you're going to get frustrated because you're going to do different things and get at different times and get different results. And that's a good way also to realize that you're trading a subjective system, because maybe you don't realize that. And as long as you're okay with a subjective system, that's fine. But if you backtest it, you'll realize, you'll pick up real quick that that doesn't have hard black and white trade rules. You'll realize that real fast. And Jeff is asking, do we use OptionNet Explorer for backtesting? And the answer is yes. OptionNet Explorer is the best software out there right now for backtesting and running analysis. There's other ways to backtest where it's more automatic. But if you do it the automatic way, you're not necessarily going to learn how to make that trade like day in and day out. So your learning curve, it's just better to do it actually manually yourself, like and use OptionNet Explorer for learning. So Ilanio, how do you choose a stock to use for the safe wheel? Do you use a tool or some criteria? So that's in the fast track course if you want to get everything you need. I typically, it's kind of we have about 6 different filters if I remember correctly, and so I'm not going to go over all those. But when I if I change from DKNG to another underlying, you'll see me go through all that. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. But I got to make sure we're trading stocks because of our capital usage between $5,000 and $10,000. We do 3 put hedges and 1 wheel, 1 contract for the wheel, that we're trading something between $20 and $40, and we want to make sure it's super liquid. So those are 2 things that I know, that I can say right now easily. You want to make sure you're doing that at least. And let's see, I know the filters, but how do you find stocks that meet these without extensive searching? Well, you can see my list right here. I just kind of slowly build it as I go. Some of these are kind of out of range. Like this pins used to be in range, now it's out of range. But some of these are, sometimes I ask people in the comments to give me some stocks that they feel would fit the criteria, and then I just build a list right here. So if I were to pick a new stock, I have a list already going. You can see it. And some of these, like I said, are out of range. Like this one's 18, so I wouldn't choose that one, right? I might probably choose something closest to $30. That would probably be my first criteria. So like LUV, HPQ, I'd probably look at those guys first because I don't want them to get out of range. So I want to stay with it. It's easier if I just stay with one stock for a long period of time. I don't have any, there's no like one stock is better than the other kind of thing. This is a purely statistical system, a quantitative system. The only thing, as long as it fits the criteria, I don't have any preference of one stock over the other, except being closer to $30. That way it's not going to get below 20 or above 40 anytime soon, because I just want to stay with the same stock. I don't want to have to be moving in and out of stocks. So that's how I do. I just build this as I go, and I haven't really updated this in a while. But if you're looking, here's some good potential stocks right here in my safe wheel watch list. Okay, are there any other questions for today before I close out the broadcast? All right. Okay, well, one thing I always like to say in parting, if the P&L is not real, what else are they trying to conceal? Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.